Hi, we started. Hi, this is a Facebook Live with Nancy from Quilting with Nancy and On Point TV. The last couple of live videos we did, we were in the process of working on the tumbling block. So here's the tumbling block that we've been working on. Remember, I did the tumbling block itself with a jelly roll, which is why there's such a large variety of colors. The only color that is the same throughout is these triangles, these orange triangles, and they've variegated, but for the most part, it's going to be all the same. So we've got the dark, the medium, and the light. But when I talked about it, I talked about how, sometimes it's a very obvious dark, medium, light. But sometimes not so obvious. Like, yeah, I guess that green's a little bit darker than that blue and that one's lighter. But when you come down here, yeah, maybe I didn't quite do it right, I guess. Is that dark? Yes. Is that medium? Is that light? Well, stuff. So because I did that, I wanted to actually quilt it with lots of colors. Now, I love quilting with lots of colors anyhow. My theory is, why would I use one thread when I could use 10 threads? Because it's just funner. So for this quilting, I'm going to use a lot of different threads, and I'll explain why here. So first, on that yellow-orange part, I'm going to use this thread. This is a Fantastico thread from Superior Threads, and it's a polyester variegated rayon. Yummy. This one is a Floriani embroidery polyester thread, a really nice kind of I wanted a blue that wasn't navy blue, and I didn't want a blue that was too light, because some of them are green and some of them are blue. So I thought this kind of, it's a little bit of a blue-green-ish I'm gonna go with. Then the medium is going to be this green. Now this green is a Superior Rainbow thread. Again, it's a polyester variegated, and it's a 40 weight. So far, these three threads have been a 40 weight. Well, now I'm going to change it up. This is a Superior Threads Brights. This was a thread designed by Carol Breyer Fowler, and she just did these really bright quilts and stuff. But this thread is a 30 weight thread, which makes it a thicker thread than these 40 weights. So we've got a 40 weight and a 30 weight, and I'm okay with that because this sewing machine seems to not have a problem with any of the different weights. I'm also going to put some different things in my bobbins. So when I'm stitching with the green, I'm going to use a green bobbin. With the blue, I'm going to use a blue bobbin. And with the yellow, I'm going to use that little bit of a gold bobbin. Now, these are pre-wound bobbins. These, let me see, this one not showing. These are Super Bobs from, again, Superior Thread. Now, just so you know, I am not like being paid by Superior Thread. Wish I was. Hi, Superior Thread. I love your threads. But I do love their threads, and I use them all the time. And I am pretty much obsessed with using pre-wound bobbins. Now, pre-wound bobbins are not for every machine. Some machines just don't like them and don't want to do very well with them. This machine is super duper happy with the Super Bobs. So whenever possible, I'm going to use the colors in the Super Bobs. And as you see, I've got a whole bunch of stacks over here of them. In the Super Bobs are Superior's bottom line thread. That is their very fine weight thread. It's a 60 weight thread. So you've heard lots of numbers. That's because when I'm stitching, when I'm doing the quilting, I don't always stick to one weight of thread. More times than not, I will put a lighter weight thread in the bobbin than in the top. For two reasons. One, bobbin lasts longer. Two, I seem to think I get a better tension. So I'll put a 60 weight bobbin in the bottom and a 30 or a 40 weight in the top. 30 or 40, the smaller number in thread, the thicker the thread. So there's your little bit of a thread education. What you need to quilt with is threads that your machine likes, because all machines just, they're particular. Not all machines like all threads. Not all machines like all bobbins. Not all needles. So you've got to work with what works on your machine. So if we come around to the front here, you'll see this is my Pfaff Hobby 1200 Grand Quilter. Now this was a very industrial-ish machine. It's got about a 9.5-inch throat here. I've got it sunk down into my beautiful table because it makes the quilting so much easier. If you can afford it, this is the one thing, more so even than the machine. Having a table that will sink down so you have this nice flat surface it just makes everything so much easier. So think about that. Got my little pair of scissors here, and then I've got my lickety grip. I like to use the lickety grip to make my fingers a little bit sticky. Now I could use quilting gloves if you chose. I choose lickety grip. Do what makes you happy, okay? So I'm going to load up this machine and we're going to do the quilting. And what I want to show you with this tumbling block is because I'm going to use 4 different threads, I want to jump around with the different threads. So I can't do all the oranges at once. I can do this triangle, and then I have to stop. Then I'm going to go over here and do this triangle and this triangle. And so that's kind of the little trick I want to show you with this, okay? So I'm going to start by loading up my thread. I'm going to put this kind of orangey one in it. This machine also is really fabulous because I rarely have to adjust tensions on it. Once I get the tension set, and I'll go from, like I said, this 40 weight thread to a 30 weight thread, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It just makes me very, very happy how non-select and how non-picky it is. And it's got a little threader, so that makes life easier too. So to start out with, my bobbin is underneath, and I'll show you how I bring the thread up. I'm going to put the light down here a little bit, and then Athena and I have been practicing, trying to see how best she's going to be able to get the shot so you can really see what I'm quilting. So see how the quilt just lays out on the table so it can move around. You gotta love this. And this is a, oh, I don't know, maybe 450 by 60-ish kind of quilt. So not real small, not real big. So we're gonna start with, scooch my chair. Whoops, it got wrapped around that foot. We're gonna start with this triangle. Can you see that? Let me see if I can get more light in there. It's a little bit better. Okay, so we're gonna start right here. I'm gonna stitch, and when I stitch, I'm gonna kind of start here with my 3 or 4 little tiny stitches. Then I'm gonna curve in a little bit to the point, curve to the point, curve to the point. And for this orange section, I'm gonna do that twice. So you see 2 lines of quilting there. For the other ones, I would only be doing 1 line, just because I want that orange to set back a little bit and have the tumbling block come up. So we're gonna start right here with the orange one. First thing I need to do, because it's the first time my thread is coming up, is I need to get my bobbin thread. So I'm gonna go down and up, lift my presser foot, come forward, and there's my bobbin thread. So there's my bobbin thread, and there's my top thread. So gonna keep them together. There they are. I like to wrap them around my fingers to start. Get into position. For this technique, I'm going to work with my needle in the up position. Normally, I will work with my needle in the down, but for this, I'm going to work with my needle in the up. So I'm ready to start. So start with my tiny stitches. Then go on up here to this point, kind of curving in a little bit to the center, to this point. Now I've done that 1 triangle, and on the other diamonds, that's pretty much all you're gonna do. But for this orange, I'm gonna do it again, this time coming in a little bit farther than I did last time. Now I'm gonna cross over. So I'm gonna move my threads out of the way. Gonna cross over to the other side and do the same thing. Trying to be consistent speed. I am not pedal to the metal. I've got some control on my speed. I don't want to be going too fast. I want my hands and my speed of my machine to be working together. So now I get to the end, and I'm going to take those littler stitches. Now I'm going to lift the presser foot and move the machine to the side. Get these threads out of the way. Now I'm in my next place, which this is why I don't work with the needle down on this, because I want to just be able to pick up and move, put the presser foot down, and now I'm going to start quilting again. So instead of having to bring my thread to the top and the bottom each time, I'm just going to have that longish piece of thread between my two sections. And I'll cut them all off when I'm done. Now I won't do the whole quilt like that because you'd have too many threads, so I'm going to go to the other side now. So I would work like maybe in a row of 3, and then go through and cut off the threads. You don't want the threads, you know, too many of them hanging out. You definitely have to cut them off on the front and the back before you start quilting the other sections. So here's my little stop. Lift my presser foot. I'm gonna go over to this side again. Get that long thread out of the way. Gonna take my pin out, poke it in my box. There. Gonna be right to this one now. So now I'm gonna put the presser foot down again and do this triangle. Right over. That thread's out of the way. See how that thread is here? The one that came from this side? It's out of the way. So I'm not worrying about quilting over top of it. Now let's say that I've done, I don't know, maybe 10 of those. All right, 10 of these little triangle sections. Start with my stop. At this point, I am going to use my thread cutter and just going to cut it off. Now I can grab my scissors and I'm going to cut off these connecting threads that went between these sections. There's my top threads. Just going to toss this over here for now. Now I'm going to go to the back side. And on the back side, do the same thing. Here's the little threads that are left from my thread cutter. Gonna cut them off. And you know what? I can feel that this knot is strong. Because I use those tiny stitches on the front when I start and I stop, it's strong. Nothing is gonna pull out of there. So I've cut them off on the back. You always wanna cut them off on the back, and you can kind of see what's happened here. That orange, can you see that? See a little bit right there. What's that question? Would you advise to wear gloves? Most people I see using machine quilting. Okay, whether or not you use gloves is a total personal decision. I like to use the lickety grip because I can then cut my threads. I can grab my scissors. I can carry my scissors. I can hold a thread. I can take my pins out. I can do all those things. I don't have to take my gloves off. Now, there are a couple of brands of gloves out there, the Machingers being probably the most popular, that are not those big bulky gloves with the knobbies on them. They're kind of a much more form-fitted glove that has like these rubber ends sort of. Those are pretty nice. I like those. And if I'm doing a much larger quilt, then I might actually wear gloves, but I want to say 80% of the time, lickety grip. This is what I use. All right, there was another question on there. What else did she say?
I did not see it in time.
Sorry about missing the other question. We'll try to catch it on maybe on the back side, okay? All right, so we see the designs that we've done here, and so this is with the orange. So this orange kind of has created this little bit of a circle. And these are the other sections that I've quilted up the tumbling block. So here's the blue thread, the green thread, and the yellow thread. Now, if I had chosen a solid or dark backing thread, fabric, it would be really very noticeable, and I probably should have done that. And there's a note to self. Next time, I think I'm going to use lots of different thread colors. Choose a simpler backing so I can actually see what I've quilted, okay? All right, so now our orange sections are done, okay? Now I need to come back and stitch the diamond sections of the tumbling block. I'm only going to do a couple of those, but I need to change my thread. We're going to do the blue section. And the blue in this tumbling block is actually the left-hand side. This is my dark. This is my medium. So for this quilt, it's going to be green. And this is my light. So for this quilt, it's going to be yellow. So we're going to come, I'm going to load up that blue thread in the top and the bottom. And we're going to come because I want to show you how you can jump around with those sections, okay? So I'm going to lift the light out of the way a little bit. Oops. Oh, jeepers creepers. There. Okay. That was a boo-boo. No big deal though, right? Okay. Oops. Take this thread out. I'm going to set these two to the side. Going to load up my blue.
Question, I was wondering if you could have done the orange triangles in a more continuous motion, it looks like.
More, you mean to have done one diamond to another diamond to another diamond to another diamond? I don't think so. The only way I could figure out was to just do the 2 diamonds. So let me get this threaded and I'll tell you what I meant by that, okay?
One other question, where did you get the light?
Where did I get the light? This is a daylight lamp. I happen to work for a company that sells these, so that's where I got mine. But this would be available at any craft store. If you go into your quilt shop and tell them that you want a daylight lamp, there's quite a few different variations. So this one's got a nice long arm. I do love the light. There's another one they make, so I don't even have it, but that holds here, and it has a 1-inch bar that goes all the way across the front of it. That's the lamp I really want. Maybe when I get around to actually getting that lamp, I'll let you know about it, but this is a daylight one. All right, so I've got my blue. Oops, I need to change up my bobbin. I want to put the blue in the bobbin also. There we go. Out goes my gold. In goes my blue. Nothing too fancy there. This is a front load bobbin. Going to bring my bobbin to the top of that. Whoops. And then I'll bring it to the top of my my quilting when I'm working on that too. All right, so that would be my blue is ready. So back to the question on the orange. Could it have been done more continuously? The only way I could think to make it, if we wanted to just try and make it as continuous as possible, instead of just 2 triangles at a time, would have been going across the quilt and back. So for instance, if we had started here, you could have gone around and no, you couldn't have done that. You'd have to go from here over to the other diamond, to the other diamond, to the other diamond, to the other diamond, and continue it this way, and then come back. So you could have done this long line on all of the oranges. Then you could have done this long line here, following the oranges, and then this long line. So you could have done that long line of oranges all in one line. Now keep that in mind, because a lot of people are not real comfortable with free motion quilting. You might be thinking, yeah, no, I am not going to do that. When I need something free motion quilted, I send it to the long armor. But I'm really good with my walking foot, really good with the straight lines. You could do that. If I put the walking foot on this, you could do following that stitching. That's just such a gentle curve. You could easily do that with your walking foot. So if you are not ready to free motion quilt, that is a way to consider doing it. The diamonds now that I'm going to quilt, I'm going to be doing with the blue. I'm going to just be stitching on the dark diamond with the blue, stopping and jumping to another one. You could, if you were just using 1 thread for all of these diamonds, you could free motion quilt this with 1 thread and 1 motion. If you start in the middle, you can do this diamond, then jump over to this diamond, and then to the top diamond. So you could do that with 1 thread with only 1 stop in the middle. So that is a way to do it. I'm choosing to do it with different colored threads, so it won't work for me. So I'm going to start with the blue here. So being as this is the first time with this thread, I'm actually going to start sort of in the center just so it's a shorter jump to my next area. Going to first bring my thread to the top, pull that forward, did the needle down, needle up, there's my threads. Put the presser foot down, but again, I'm gonna work with my needle in the up position so I can go from one diamond to the next without having to lift up the needle. So starting here, come up to my other corner. When I get to my end, I'm gonna take those tiny stitches, lift my presser foot, go just over here to this other side, put the presser foot down, and go again. Starting with those tiny stitches, and then ending with the tiny stitches. Okay, tiny stitches. Now I'm going to lift the presser foot, and I'm going to bring it on up to the next one. So I'm going to kind of be going crisscrossing across to this next dark blue. You know, another way this quilt could have been quilted is just an all-over design. I could have easily just done an all-over meandering design. Would have been really, really adorable. I just didn't want to do it for this. Now this time when I go across to what is the dark, it's actually going to be an orange diamond because it's the darker of those three, but now you're really going to see the stitch. And then small stitches here at the end. So I'm going to stop here, so I'm going to cut my thread off. There we go. Then I would go back and I would cut off these threads just like we did with the orange. Cut them off here and cut them off on the bobbin side. So then I'd have the whole quilt done. Don't know how long this one will take me. Probably not too awful long. So it'll be done soon. When it comes time for me to quilt this border, I talked about it when we constructed this quilt, that this is a fabric that's been in my stash for a really long time. And it's got these little metallic-y kind of bubbles on them, which makes the fabric look really, really cool. But I do remember that my machine did not particularly care to free motion through them. So I probably will just do a sort of a meandering, kind of going around, avoiding those little foily things. Then the quilt will be quilted. I would love to show you the binding, getting the binding and all that kind of stuff on it also, but I really need to have it. I'm going to be teaching this at the Smith Owen Sewing Center, my shop here in West Michigan. I'll be teaching this there, so I really need to get it finished. So I don't think we'll have time for a live version of getting those things done, but maybe we'll take some pictures and put it up on Facebook and or YouTube that way. So there you go. Quilting of the Tumbling Block. I hope you enjoyed this. We do have lots of other videos. I think we're up to almost 200 videos now on our YouTube channel. Everything from the very beginning, talking about how to fold your fabric, how to cut your fabric, all of these different techniques, starting with that Learning to Quilt series that I did, which is a beginner quilt series that takes you from the beginning to the end, teaching you so many different techniques. So it's a great class to even take if you think that you're experienced, just different things that you learn. There's a book available for that. There's a few patterns out there. There's my pincushion pattern out there. So if you go to our website, onpoint-tv.com, you can see all of that, all the videos, and on our YouTube channel, onpoint-tv. Have a great day.